You're listening to DUSARadio's online election coverage at DUSAmedia.com.
Hello, you're listening to DUSARadio's online election coverage. I'm Craig Donoghue, and today I'm interviewing the candidate for VPSW, Vice President of Student Welfare. Okay, so I'm joined here today in the studio by Katie Jowett, the only candidate for the Vice President of Student Welfare today. Before we get on, Katie, if you don't mind, I'm just going to define the role as set out in the DUSA bylaws. So, the Vice President of Student Welfare is a non-sabbatical role. This post holder will have responsibility for student welfare issues and the provision of the relevant DUSA services. The post holder will also liaise with university student services. The Vice President of Student Welfare has responsibility for liaising with the Directorate of Student Operations on pastoral and welfare issues through membership of relevant committees, providing support to the Committee of the Nightline Service, implementing student welfare awareness campaigns, recruiting and supporting volunteers for the welfare campaigns, and liaising with student support on areas of mutual interest and delivery of joint campaigns. So now, Katie, if you'd like to just deliver your candidate statement.
Okay, well, it's slightly different because obviously we're only allowed 3 policies, which is a bit restrictive. Mm-hmm. But my main focus is, if I get elected, is that I would like to concentrate on a week dedicated to a healthy mind and healthy body. This is something that I believe is really important to student life. Like, you can stress how important it is to be mentally healthy, but if you're having a lifestyle where you're not sleeping because you're in the library 24 hours and you're getting up, say, at 7 to be there and then not leaving until 2:30 in the morning, it can be just as stressful as being out partying every night and things like that. So I really want to encourage the importance of having a well-balanced lifestyle. And I'm really hoping that the incoming sports exec and the sports union will be on board with this campaign as well. They have excellent resources. We have one of the best sports unions, I think, in Scotland, and with so many different activities and sports that we do, even if you're not interested in being in a club or on a team. I know I, don't have the time to be on a team and also have very bad hand-eye coordination at anything. So, but there's still give it a go, and there's still days where you can do tasters or even just classes at the gym can be helpful. Also, I think with Nightline, we have one of the best resources out there. Like, our Nightline is brilliant. I'm lucky enough to know the organisers of it and have seen them build it up to how amazing it is. It's one of the best across the UK, how well they've worked, and I just want to encourage them to be able to get even better, and I hope to not take responsibility that they can do it themselves. I just hope that I can be the support that they need. Obviously, the role as well is working with student services, which they have a lot to do and they have a lot of different resources as well. So I just want to be able to help them promote how well they are themselves, and also show the students that even if they don't have financial problems or they don't have health-related problems, the student services are there, even for a chat. They have a knit and natter session on a lunchtime where even the most unknitting person can go and probably make a very bad scarf, or an attempt at it anyway. But yeah, that's kind of what I want to focus on. But I quite like to work well with the students and see what students want as their campaigns. Last night at Hustings, it was brought up by one of the societies on campus, the leader of that, Naomi, the fact that she would quite like to see a campaign about being safe on campus, not just for women but men as well. And I think that's a really good campaign and a really good idea, which I'd like to work with her closely on, because it's not just about being safe personally, but there's your belongings, and even when you think they are safe, people get fraped all the time just being in the library, and in a way that's a violation. So I just want to be able to promote being safe in yourself, and also that this is your life. You should be respectful to others to get respect back, and I think that's a very important issue that students need to learn. This isn't their parents coming to mop up any mistakes they make. This is the big wide world now. You've got to deal with it yourself, and hopefully I'll be able to help with the resources that DUSA has to do that.
Great. Before we get on to discussing some of your policies and your candidate statement, I've got a question which isn't directly within the remit of the job title, but it is something that I think is quite important, and that is, I'm calling on the fact that your position is uncontested, and in fact there are 4 positions this year uncontested. In fact, one of those now doesn't have anybody running for it. What would you do? Because admittedly it's not something for the VPSW directly, but it is for the whole exec, I think. What would you plan on doing this time next year to try and get more people involved with putting their name forward for DUSA elections?
Well, I currently sit on the SRC. As mentioned tonight, it's not a prerequisite to be an exec member, but the SRC at the minute, we are quite aware that there's a lack of student involvement. Even in the SRC, there wasn't many positions that were contested, but we're currently trying to promote how people can be involved, or just the wish that people will want to be involved, even if it's not on a committee or at the top level, just to even vote for these people. I hope that by being student welfare and being a face, being out on campus, like I know many of the candidates for the other positions want to be, they want to be a face around campus, they want to be approachable. But I hope by working with the students more closely on what they're wanting, such as what campaigns they wish to see, it will encourage other candidates and other people to come up and go, well, actually, that looks fun. It looks hard, but it looks fun. I want to be that. I want to be able to help the others as well. And hopefully this time next year there'll be more than 13 candidates in total, and there won't be any uncontested positions.
Great. Your first policy is increase awareness of student services around campus. To say this is your first of the 3 policies that are required for this. Obviously, I'm assuming you all have lots more. How would you hope to achieve this, seeing as many candidates have made this policy and had this policy every year almost, but clearly it's still an issue? So what would you look to be doing differently to increase awareness of student services?
Well, I know currently where student services are on level 4, it's people only see it if they come into the building, which luckily for me, I'm got a bit an easier task if I'm elected, because they've just announced that they will actually be moving to the old bank site, which with the foot traffic that goes around, it's going to be a lot easier to promote them than it is such as where they are, and like they've recently moved office quite a lot as well, so that's made it difficult, I know, for the previous student welfare. But at the same time, we also have access to posters and social networking sites, which I don't want to focus on too much because everyone wants to focus on these things, and yes, they do work, but at the same time, just being out there and talking to the students, having stalls at the freshers fairs, and even just campaigns and weeks where we have, say, the marquees outside with a stall, they're the best ways to get about and introduce the students to the services we have. You can tell everyone on Facebook till you're blue in the face that we have student services, that they're open from 9 till 5 and you can come for a chat, but it's not a friendly way to do it. The best way to do it is to show them that you're approachable, that you can just talk to them, or at least that you know what they look like. Someone on Facebook or the university website could be female, male, and you would never know. You wouldn't know their age, anything, until you turned up, and you might come to student services or the counselling service and feel that you can't relate to them because of whatever issue you've got, whereas if you see them about campus and you know how approachable they are, you may be a lot more at ease.
Okay. You mentioned in your candidate statement that during your time as a student you've seen a number of successful campaigns run by previous VPSWs, including the Safe Sex, Healthy Eating and Drink Awareness campaigns, just to name a few. Would you be looking to continue these campaigns or evolve them in any way, or would you be shifting focus mainly to your new campaign of Healthy Mind, Healthy Body?
I'd quite like to do both, actually. The good thing about a Healthy Mind, Healthy Body is that it includes so many of these things. Like, a big part of being healthy is your diet and also your sexual health, your mental health. This is my kind of way of including everything but not being too general about it. I feel if I'm too general, then a lot of aspects will be missed. I'd quite like to run more than one campaign just in my time, because obviously student welfare isn't just about one issue. I'd quite like to continue the success of Sex Week, as well as focus on the fact that we have national days dedicated to mental health. And like, I think the other week was Smile Day, which I think is a brilliant idea, and National Non-Smoking Day, which also happens to be near my birthday, which is always memorable. But I think these are all very successful campaigns that need to be continued, but I quite like to add my own personal touch by including it as well with the Mental Health Week and a Body Week.
Okay. Moving on with your Healthy Mind, Healthy Body Week, you mentioned at the hustings that you would be looking to work quite closely with the sports union during this. Have you spoken to the current president, Andy Smart? I'm assuming you probably won't have had time to speak to the new president, having only been elected last night, Grant Murdoch. But have you spoken to anybody at the sports union or had any input from them?
I've only had unofficial meetings with Andy. I do know Andy quite well, so in unofficial capacities I've been able to ask him, and I've been quite a fan of what he's managed to do this year, and so what Sophie did last year as well. So being able to sit back and watch everything they've done has kind of encouraged me for this relationship. As far as I'm aware, I've not really seen a relationship between the social welfare and the sports union before, and I haven't had time to speak to Grant, unfortunately.
No.
Having
to be expected.
I was a little busy being grilled myself last night, so but from now, obviously, I can go forward and work with both Andy and Grant up until handover and talk to them in a more official capacity.
Even though you've not spoken to the sports union, the new sports union president, what would you be looking to do? Events that you would be looking to run during this week that you're planning for Healthy Mind, Healthy Body?
Well, previously the sports union have they've done days out on the green just in front of DUSA, where they've had different sports activities similar to Give It a Go, which is their way of including societies and their sports societies. I'd quite like to help build on this, and also maybe help to promote different sports where you don't have to be the fittest person, but it's just something fun to do, because that also helps with the mental health. If you're fun and active, then it helps in all aspects. So I hope that by working with the sports union, I'll be able to not build on what they've already done, because that is their own achievements. The sports union is completely different to DUSA Exec.
Yeah.
Different resources, they have their own campaigns, they have their own policies that they would like to bring forward, but I'd just like to build on that relationship. Maybe if we work together, there's more resources that could go into it, and it could just be bigger and better.
Great. I think a Healthy Mind, Healthy Body week at the union is a fantastic idea, and I wish you the best of luck with it. You mentioned in your third policy to promote awareness of student volunteer roles around campus. Now, I've spoken to several students who are not aware of student volunteer roles on campus. I think that's probably the main problem. Tell us a little bit about what student volunteer roles there are available, what ones you would like to implement, and how you'd go about promoting these roles.
Well, there's a lot more than I am aware of. Unfortunately, it's one thing that I only became aware of this year is that there is quite a lot of volunteer roles. and that was through the Freshers Fair.
Mm-hmm.
At the Freshers Fair, there was a stall which actually is an organisation that runs and sends out emails and lists of the volunteer roles that are available, not only on campus but off campus as well and within Dundee. And I'm lucky enough to get weekly emails from them saying which roles are available, whether it's one-off or whether it's a continued position. But there's Nightline, which are constantly looking for new staff. They're happy and helpful to get any volunteers, whether it's on a permanent or part-time basis, whether it's to do with helping out on a night or whether it's even just to help promote. And I think these positions need more promotion about campus, not just from DUSA and the exec, but also the university. We need to work together. There's the Marrow Society, I think it is, and they're not a small society, but they don't get as many volunteers as what they would like. And I know that even though we have the volunteer fair, like it was mentioned by Douglas last night, not a lot of people attend these fairs.
Mm-hmm.
So I would hope that through my engagement with students, working with the VPCC and also the student engagements, we would be able to build awareness of these events. And also from Douglas's statements last night, it seems he's very keen on promoting these ideas as well.
Mm-hmm, definitely. You mentioned that you've been an elected member of the SRC, the Student Representative Council, for the last 2 years. I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit more about that. What role have you fulfilled, and what's gone through whilst you've been there? What have you been party to?
Okay, well, I've been on 2 years now. The first year I was the learning and teaching representative. In that time, myself and the then Deputy President Stuart,
mm-hmm.
we worked to bring about a more training to the class reps and the school presidents. Unfortunately, by the time I was elected, I came in at quite near the end of this process, so I wasn't as involved as what I would have liked to been. But it was something very passionate within Stuart that I saw, and I'd been a class rep in my first year, and I had never really put time or the effort that I should have been held accountable for. And I felt like this was an important issue that needed to be addressed so that students could feel like they were being represented properly. So I helped Stuart to introduce a training programme where the class reps could come in for a day, and they would be given training on how to deal with issues, who to go to, what kind of hierarchy there is, and just how they could approach students as well as be approached. After that, there was quite a number of things which the SRC have worked on. Unfortunately, the SRC, you have the meetings and then 3 weeks later there's new issues, and a lot of the time the SRC don't appear to do much. But we talk about maybe 3 or 4 motions a meeting that are being passed on behalf of the students, and sometimes it's difficult because you have these motions such as the one that's been up recently about the relationship with working with G4S.
Mm-hmm.
And these issues are obviously students are wanting it, but at the same time you've got to remember that you're representing more than just yourself, and if you're, say, a school president, your school, you've got to represent the entire of campus. This year I was the first year service and facilities rep, and in the meetings we've talked a lot about the lack of money and how it's affecting just the basic things, like if a desk is wonky and how quickly it's getting fixed, to having a working clock in the classroom.
Yeah.
Which sometimes can be the most stressful thing. At least if it works, you know what time it is. So currently, though there's not a lot of issues going on at the minute, it's still being affected, and unfortunately a lot of the motions we've passed at the minute won't be seen to be effective until next year, which unfortunately for the SRC can be quite frustrating that the students feel we don't do much when we actually work quite hard on their behalf.
Absolutely. I think everybody needs to know, all the students need to know that the SRC is there and they are doing a job, even though it sometimes is quite quietly in the background. They do get things done. Well, we're almost running out of time here, so Katie, if you'd like to just sum up that brief closing statement.
Okay, well, as I said in my speech last night, the most important thing is not whether you vote for me or Ron. It will be quite a hit to my ego, I think, if Ron was to win, but at the same time I would feel at least it would be representative of the student body. So all I can really say is that the most important thing is to vote, because this is the students' university. The students make it what it is. If you don't make a fuss when you want to do or complain, then nothing can be done. And the only way, unfortunately, to do that at the minute is to vote. So even if it's for me or not, hopefully I can be the student welfare officer that is needed and wanted by the student bodies, but it's up to them to vote. So hopefully it'll be for me and not for an invisible person.
Absolutely. And just a reminder, voting opens on Wednesday the 6th of March and closes on Friday the 8th, and you vote logging on to your My Dundee page. Thank you very much, Katie.
Thank you.
You've been listening to DUSA Radio's online election coverage. Don't forget to check back regularly to hear the most up-to-date interviews online.